Hello, Esteban. Well, things just haven't been working out for us the last couple of weeks. First, the weather was a problem, and now you would say that you're under the weather. You're not feeling well tonight, so I'm very sorry to hear that. I would much rather see your happy, smiling face than have to give you a video because, I'm looking at me, which is fine. You have to look at me, but I don't usually have to look at me. I used to usually get to look at cute you. So what can we do? I guess I will just keep working anyway. Okay, so I'm going to give you some quick tips. You already watched your video several times from what I hear for last week, so you should be doing very well with what I gave you last week. So let's see if we can get through the next little part of Star Wars. We'll see. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give you some quiet thoughts. If you're not feeling well, then it may be that you don't have quite as many practice days this week, but we'll hope for the best, okay? So I'm going to start actually in your lesson book with quiet thoughts, because if there's any part of Little River Flowing you're not sure about, you can go back and you can watch the other video again, okay? So quiet thoughts is on page 29 in your book. I'm going to flip over here. Here it is. It's having a hard time focusing. There we go. Quiet thoughts has another sort of an echo idea in it. It has an exact echo between measures 5 and 6. What your left hand plays, your right hand then copies exactly, okay? But this one is a phrase, and then the phrase on a higher note, okay? That happens quite often, actually. So we have the phrase, and then we have it, but it doesn't start on D this time, it starts on E, okay? So we go from D to E, A, and this is an E and a G, okay? I know that you can go back through and you can pause that and get those letters if you need them, but hopefully you'll remember them fairly well. Also remember that you need to be doing your theory practice along with the video, okay? Since I wasn't able to see you today, next week I'll need to have the first 3 pages of the theory test. Follow along with the videos, but make sure that you have them and you're not getting behind. Otherwise, it makes it much, much, much more difficult to actually take the test because we panic, okay? So we don't need to panic as long as you continue doing a page a week as we go through, and that way I will review them, make sure that you understood them, and then we'll give you an extra practice test that doesn't have the answers like on my video, and then we'll see how well you really know your stuff, and we'll fix that, and then you'll be ready for the test, okay? So make sure you're working on your theory. And also, it seems like I forgot to give you a password last week. I am so sorry. It must have completely slipped my mind. So the password this week shall be Switzerland. Switzerland is a great place. Probably very cold right now. Switzerland, okay? That is the password for your practice days. Keep track of them because you're going to have quite a few when you come back next week. Now, let's play Quiet Thoughts. We have this hand position. It's the same as what we had in Little River Flowing, and Little River Flowing has the picture in the upper left-hand corner. Okay? It isn't this. It has the sharp. So make sure that this is your hand position with your lowest finger on D, your highest finger on A, and your middle finger on F sharp. I'm going to play through and talk through it. It starts on D. With half note, quarter, quarter, half note, okay? This next phrase sounds the same. It is, but instead of starting on D, it starts on E. Half note, quarter, quarter, half note. Okay? Let's clap through the rhythm on the first line. We have 1, 2, ready, go. Half note, quarter, quarter, half note. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now then, I'm going to expect that you're going to pause the video there and work on it, la 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 la, and get it all beautiful, okay? After you're sure that you've got line 1 going well for you, then go down to line number 2. Starting at measure number 5, we have A, and it will play all quarter notes. And then your right hand imitates, copies, or echoes. Those are all words we could use there. And plays. Notice that they are not stepping down. You don't have a note, its neighbor and its neighbor. You have every other, or like that. Those are the ones you're playing. You're not playing 2 and 4, okay? All right. Let's try 5 and 6 again. Now we're going to look at measures 7 and 8, the last 2 measures of this song. All right? This is the tricky part, but it will be easier because of this angle where you see my hands, okay? Your right hand plays starting there, not too bad, right? The difficulty is actually in the last measure where you actually skip up and skip down. You have the D, don't play E. Now, if you're tempted to pull one finger under like this when you're playing, don't. I'm a professional. You should keep this hand position. I'm only doing that to show you that you're not going to play this one at that moment, but you should always leave your fingers on the keys, okay? In that last measure, you have the D, F sharp, D. You skip one finger, okay? Your left hand plays also skips that finger. These are not copying each other. They are not playing. They're not playing the same thing. They are playing sixths apart. On your theory test, you have to label intervals. This is a sixth. Remember, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it stays that sixth apart. So where 1 goes higher, and then they go lower together, and then they go lower together, and then they skip up together, that's the tricky part, and they skip down together. A good way to practice that is to play just the last measure. One hand at a time, and then together. Then back up to measure 7 and play higher, lower, lower, skip up, skip down. That is the tricky part of this piece, okay? Now then, at this point, you would pause the video and you'll work on it. You'll get those details. It should take you several days to get through all of that. By the time you do the first line, and then you start the second line, and then you do hands separate, and then you put them together, I mean, it should take you probably about 3 days to get through that much, okay? If it just comes naturally and it works, then do it all in one day, but don't push if it doesn't work, like take your time. Then you'll come back and you can start the video from this point, and I'll show you what it should sound like when it's finished. Don't cheat. Make sure that you play it and you're reading it and you're double checking it, and then use this as your ultimate double check to make sure that you're ready for your sticker when you come back next week, okay? So here's the finished. Just like that. Did yours sound like mine? I guess we'll find out, right? At least you have that extra help. So make sure that you have quiet thoughts prepared to play for me next week. All right? Now, very quickly, let's talk Star Wars. All right? I'm looking at it. To this point, we've got and I think last week we also did G, right? Okay, so we must need to do the middle part. And then that's the part that we've had before. Probably, like this one is best taught in person. This is a little bit tricky, so what I'm going to do is play it slowly so you can follow along, read along, and think, okay? I'm going to start from the beginning so that you have a reference point. Here's the new stuff. A. Okay? So you have A, and I think you can stay in this hand position. I know it has a finger number 4, but I don't know that you really need to move. A, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, D, B. Okay? Then you have G, A, F, E, D, C. Just play the G on top. You don't need to play the left hand notes there. And the D on top. You don't need to play the left hand notes there. Okay? Then you'll have G, A, F, E, D, C, C, D, E, D, B. Okay? So in all these, you have G, A. You have it once, and then twice, and then 3 times in this section. Okay? When you're doing it the last time, then you do have to move your hand so that you can do the part we talked about last week. Okay? So I'm going to play through slowly the section we haven't talked about, starting at the G, A, the double G right before the black line we put in. I'm going to start right there, right before the black line. And I'm not going to talk this time. Here we go. and then I'll show you how to go back to the beginning, and we'll have a conclusion in person hopefully next week. You're still in good shape as long as this part it made sense to you and you were working on it and it was working last week, okay? So that shouldn't be a trouble for you. If you have any questions, let me know. I hope you feel much, much better in the morning, all right? Hopefully that covers all the things. Do make sure that you double check and you're working on the first 3 pages of that theory test. It's super, super important. I don't want it to be stressful for you. I want it to be a nice thing and come together nicely for you. No panic necessary, and that will work as long as you continue working on it a little bit at a time. Okay? Let me know if you have questions or problems, and hopefully I will see you in person next time. Bye, Esteban.